Hey everybody, hello there, and welcome to What Had Happened Was. KB with you, Karen Bryan here, along with
Angela Overkill Hill. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
what's
all, that's it.
poppin', people? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I felt like you thought it
yeah.
was gonna be longer.
I
My
did.
name.
I kind of thought,
Angela Overkill. Like I was gonna Bruce Buffer it.
right. Draw it
I
out,
should
draw it
have.
out.
I should
You
have
should
Bruce
have.
Buffered
Well,
it.
we should buffer more often. And I know we keep saying this. I think I am just gonna. I need to learn how to work in the music that we have with this system. I think I might be able to add it in post or whatever. So
Okay.
I'll work on adding that music in. So speaking of music, we're gonna get into some music stuff, but we will talk UFC Vegas 38, the Santos versus Johnny Walker main event, and some of the things that happened or didn't happen on that event because some fights got canceled, which was kind of a bummer. But
Yeah.
but yeah. But how was your weekend, Aunt?
It was good. I had a very chill weekend. This week, what did I do? I went to a metal concert. Went to I forget the name of the lead, but we actually went because my husband's a big fan of Municipal Waste. So we went to. They were like the second to last show. I think it was Volbeat or something. I never heard of them
Right.
before. But we went to see the Municipal Waste show in San Diego. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just like fun. It's something that I didn't really do when I was a kid, to go to concerts, let alone go to metal concerts. Like I
Mm-hmm.
love when you see people go crazy in the pit. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
damn, I wish I was doing this when I was a kid, because I like know too much now to put my health and ankles at
Yeah.
risk. Get trampled on in there. But like as a kid, you're made of rubber, so it would have been fun to jump in there and go crazy. And I was an athlete then too, so so it wasn't as risky. But yeah, it was fun watching that, and I think that's all I did. That and a little bit of training.
Nice.
Yeah, easy weekend. How about you?
Well, well, I was working, so I was at the fights.
Yeah, yeah, you were.
So
I
that's
saw
where I
you.
was. But I want to get into this with you a little bit because I too have been to metal concerts. I've been to actually a lot of metal
Ah,
concerts, and I was actually just at a concert last week, which was not metal at all. The total opposite of metal. It was Glenn Hansard. He's an Irish singer songwriter. He's amazing. But when we
oh,
went, oh no, it was so good. But like amazing show. But when I went with my friend who's white, and I told her, I was like, hey, Susie, by the way, I'm probably going to be the only chocolate girl here. And then she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, no, like, yeah. And so when we were there, I saw one other chocolate person. I can't
okay.
tell you how many times that has been the case. So, like I've seen Judas Priest, I've seen
Ah,
ACDC,
nice,
I've seen
nice.
like, because I used to work for a radio station. So a lot of these things I got, tickets to, and I would just go see anything, right? Because I love
That's
concerts, I
dope.
love music, so I'll go see anything. And so
Yeah.
yeah, so I've seen some incredible concerts, but yes, a lot of the time, and I know this is totally stereotypical or whatever, but like you're not going to see a lot of homies at the Judas Priest show. You're just not. You know
Nah,
what I mean?
no, not really. I
Not
feel like
really.
I got used to it though. Like ever since I left PG County, which is like the blackest suburb in the world.
Right.
Ever since I left there, in Maryland, I've always been in a situation where I'm, I guess, the only black person in the room on a number of occasions, like going to art school, living in San Diego, uh, not very huge black population in San Diego. And then, being in the MMA world as well. Like, yeah, you have a lot of male athletes, like male black athletes, but when it comes to black females, you don't see us that often. So it is. I'm used to being in that room. I'm used to being the representative. Like, hello, I am Angela. Ask me all your questions about touching hair and
Yeah.
and whether Black Lives Matter enough. Yeah, you can
It's so true.
please.
No, I know what you mean because the town I grew up in. There was like nobody that really looked like me. There were a couple of black boys that were adopted by white families. That everybody
Okay.
obviously was like, "Oh, so Karen, you have to go out with that guy because you guys are the only chocolate ones." But I didn't, and I never had any dates anyway, which is a whole other
Oh,
story. But yeah, no, I got used to it too because I used to run a radio station and it was an alternative station. That's why I have this Chili Peppers thing behind me. Over here, I can pan the camera. You'll see my thing from Pearl Jam that they gave me when I was a DJ on
oh, I
TV. So
lost
say,
lost your audio. We
You
lost
lost my
your mic.
audio.
Yeah.
You lost my mic. Am I here now?
Maybe it's my headphone.
Yeah, because I think I'm still going. Hopefully.
Oh yeah, that was me.
Oh, okay.
My headset popped out of my ear, and I was like, "Karen, you're fucking up."
Yeah, but no, and so I've done a lot of that, like been the only one at a lot of these concerts because like I love like 90s grunge and all this stuff that when I was at my radio station and stuff, and then over at MTV, so I've been the only one a lot of times, and then obviously what I do for a living, the only one in a lot of ways, and it's weird because sometimes it's really cool and you feel that sense of ownership of like, I'm a badass and I'm the only one, and like I have been in a mosh pit and I have done all that, but then there are other times you're sort of like, how is it that I'm the only one? Like, what the hell? Like that? I don't. There are times when I'm just sort of like, I don't get it. Like I don't get why I'm the only one in certain situations. It's very strange.
Yeah, I mean, it is very white music. Like, I feel like the whole like garage band experience, you don't really get that as a Black youth growing up. Like like you might make beats on your keyboard with your friends and like drum on the desk and like beatbox and everything and do a cipher, but you're not really like getting like a guitar and a drums kit and getting in your parents' garage and making music that way. Like that's not really our upbringing. I feel like it's not a normal thing. At least when you do have it, it's like cool, and you get these like cool alternative bands, but like Bad Brains and stuff like that. But it's not like super normal. So I was happy to be introduced to metal music in my later years when I met Adam, and that's why I started liking the Misfits. I mean, it's more punk, but started liking the Misfits. I fell in love with Amon Amarth, and a lot of just like random metal bands that just kind of get me going, get me fired up, make me want to fight, make me want to get in the mosh pit. So that was fun. It was definitely fun.
It's cool. Well, and it's funny though, because my brother actually does play guitar, and so we are one of those rare occasions like where he had a band in the basement. My next door neighbor played bass. My brother played guitar, and they had a guy come over and play drums and stuff. So but you're right, because Angela, if we're doing a little bit of a sociology segment here on what had happened a lot of that is because of the same reasons why you don't see a lot of Black swimmers or Black hockey players. It's about the accessibility to things, and I know it's a huge overstatement, but a lot of Black people grow up in the city where they are, same thing, why sports, right? A basketball, you just need one dude to have a basketball and 10 people can be playing a sport. Whereas, if a Black, you need to buy the hockey skates and this and that and all the other gear and all the stuff. So it's a function, a lot of the sports in that kind of thing is a function of accessibility and income and ability to get the things to help them play those sports. And I think sometimes with music, that's the same way, right? Homies can be standing around in the corner. Again, huge sweeping generalizations, but homies can stand around in the corner.
But
somebody can drop a beat, and that's why rap is that cultural exchange. It's language and it's storytelling. It's so many more things wrapped into one. But it's interesting to me because like there are bands like Living Color and things like that are rock bands that are Black, but there's not that many. King's X was another one. There's really not that many though, so it really is a shame because. A lot of people think Black people invented rock and roll and got Chuck Berry and all that stuff. And then there's like no Black dudes or women in rock and roll. That's why, anyway, this is a whole other story, but this
is a whole nother show, man.
So
we need to
Brittany Howard is so cool and she's doing cool things. Yeah, no, I know. We could do all kinds of stuff. But I'm just a big music person, but the long way around that, Angie, was that I'm glad that you had fun at the metal concert. And even though I'm not a person that loves metal that much, if people look on the internet, you can find me with the Melvins actually, because they came to FX on a show that I used to do. And there's like a clip of me like grooving to the Melvins and stuff, and it's pretty cool. But like, and there's clips of me backstage with Faith No More, because like I used to like the Metallica guys used to come to MTV all the time, and so I've seen Metallica, I've seen Faith, like I've seen Guns N' Roses, I've seen Motley Crue, I've seen like all kinds of stuff. So it's been fun. Yeah,
it's fun, and I got the headbang.
You did
because I had hair.
Exactly.
Not always the case.
Exactly. And are you going to keep those in for a while?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I don't have any fights on the horizon, so I could probably keep them in for a little bit. I like these. So for any of the sisters who train that are watching, I like the knotless braids for looking cute, but also training in them
Mhm.
because they're not like the box braids where there's like this where there's like a knot at the top of it so it doesn't get caught. So it's almost like just braiding your natural hair, but then you braid your natural hair and then you attach the fake hair so you can kind of see it's fuzzing up a
Right.
little bit.
But
That's
you
where
just
my
sort of
hair
braid
ends.
that, you braid the
But
fake
you
part
braid
in.
it braids in and it's more natural. So like you can yank on this pretty much like a couple days after you get it done, which is like, unheard of. Like I can't even sleep usually when I get braids done, but with these, you can lay on them, you can yank on them, you can cornrow them or do whatever you need to do to keep them out of the way, and you can train in them. So I really like these braids because it's a good protective style. It keeps my hair like locked in and keeps it from getting ripped out. Like I remember I told you guys that story about how I went blind and then the middle ripped out and I had a fucking blonde donut on my head for until I got the nerve to cut all my hair off. So this helps that from happening. No donut holes or hurricanes or anything on my head. All my hair stays intact and it looks cute too.
It does look cute. It does look cute. I've never done braids myself, and it's something I know you look super cute. And
Thanks.
this is my. I just was jumping rope not that long ago, and I was like, oh crap, I gotta get ready. And
see,
so,
if I had that good hair, then I wouldn't have to do all
no,
this.
but like, yeah, it's so this is just but I was like, well, let me just throw a little bit of a hat on because I didn't whatever. But I've never done braids. I've thought about doing it at some point. I might want
Braids
to try
are
it.
fun.
But I didn't know if like on the air that'd be like all of a sudden be like, who's that? You know what I mean? Like so I'd have to do it over the side.
You can do whatever you want. You should do the long ponytail like that WWE girl. What is her name? It's like Bianca something. But she has like the longest ponytail and she'll run around and she'll smack girls with it. It's really cute. I gotta find out her name. She's awesome. Nice. But I'm not a wrestling fan, so sorry to all the wrestler fans. They're like, how do you not know her name? But I did become a fan of her look, and I'm like, if I were to watch wrestling, I would only watch her fights.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. Well, we don't necessarily, and people can go back to last week's show where we talk about us not really understanding wrestling. But anyway, we do understand MMA, and we did watch Thiago Santos versus Johnny Walker. That was our main event on Saturday. It was 5 rounds. A lot of us initially kind of were like, there's no way this goes 5 rounds because both of those guys are very explosive.
Yeah.
Johnny Walker has, they each, I think, had 10 first round finishes or something like that.
Can I just show you Walker's badass this girl is real quick? She's so dope. She's so dope. So it was Bianca Belair. Nice. Just had to get that in there so y'all don't go crazy in the comments. But yes, please continue about MMA. This is what we're here to talk about.
It's good. No, and yeah, so we so Johnny Walker is a guy that has literally his combined fight. It's like 5 minutes and 33 seconds or something. The guy really has only been the distance twice now. Once with Cirkunov, I think it was, and then and now with Thiago Santos. And so going into the 5th round, the judges had it even. They had, I guess what was it? It was 2 and 3 were for Santos, and 1 and 4 I think they said was Walker. So it was even going into the 5th. I think the right person won. I did see Thiago Santos winning that fight. I was a little confused by Kavanaugh in the corner that basically Johnny's team being so confident that they were winning. I don't know. I'm not saying that's a bad strategy. I just was kind of surprised they seemed to be more confident than what I saw. That's all I'm saying. So I thought going into, I thought the right guy won, but I didn't. I think I'd be a little confused by people who thought Johnny won. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Who knows what you're actually seeing in the corner, because I don't think people realize how different the fight looks in the corner than it does on TV. And I think this is why you get a lot of weird decisions from good judges, like judges who have good reputation. This is why you get a lot of seemingly biased commentary, because side on the side of the cage, the fight looks totally different. So if you're facing this way, or if the fighter is facing this way and they get punched here, then obviously that's a connection. But if they're facing this way, and you just see the punch going past their head, like, just angles can create a different look. And so sometimes you get these rounds where you're watching the fight and you're like, okay, he's hurting the person. You don't see your fighter get tagged really because it looks like they're moving. And I don't know. It was just a fight where you have two killers who do damage, who hurt people all the time. And neither of them had any moments where someone got hurt, like someone got like rocked or dropped or just face busted up. And it's kind of hard to tell who is pulling ahead. So I do think like he should have been a little like err on the side of caution. Like tell me I'm doing a little bit worse than I'm actually doing, so I pick up the pace. But I can understand if he thought that they did enough to have 3 rounds. Like I can understand that, even if it was obvious to us at home, because we have like the aerial view and we can see down and we can see, okay, this is missing, this is hitting, like, it just looks different from different angles. And a lot of times we see that with like fouls. You'll see a foul and it won't look like they got hit in the nuts, or it won't look like they got poked in the eye, but then you choose the different angle and you're like, ooh, yeah, that was an eye poke. That was a really bad nut shot. I can't believe we missed it just because we were like on the other side of the cage. So I would chalk it up to that, because I know he's a good coach. I know that he's had a lot of success in there. He's been in high stress situations with his fighters, and I feel like he is one of those coaches who know what to say to draw out the best of their fighter. Maybe because this is a new guy, he works on compliments, maybe he feels like compliments are the way to get him to perform better. If he gives him too much negative, then it shuts him down. You know what I mean? So whenever you have criticism of a coach fighter conversation in between rounds, I think it's a little unfair, just because you don't understand what that coach and fighter has been through in order to get there, what obstacles they've overcome. Like coaches and fighters argue like all the time, like they can get mad at each other. They they want the best for each other, but it's also a relationship. It's a human relationship. So you have to figure out which ways to draw out the best of your athlete. And I'm guessing he didn't want to discourage him from doing his crazy stuff and being energetic and being aggressive. And maybe that's what's gotten him better rounds in sparring and like, when they're training and stuff. But yeah, I think from our point of view, if nobody was arguing, if it was 2-2, if anything, it could have been Santos up 3. I felt like going into the 4th round or going into the 5th round. But yeah, it was definitely a close fight. Like if he got robbed, no one would have been mad, because it was pretty close.
Well, I've been mad if Santos lost. Actually, I've been mad. I mean, I know I do think that in that 5th round it was up for grabs type thing. I do think it was incredibly close, but I thought that Santos won. So, but also going into it, and to your point, like we don't know their relationship, and this is second fight, I believe, that Johnny's done with John Kavanagh, and I think what we saw, while there's going to be the pendulum could swing too far, right? So Johnny was too wild before and got himself in trouble, and now maybe we've tamed him too much. Right. So now maybe they just need to find that little sweet spot. And maybe that's all it is like you said, maybe if they said, Johnny, you're losing, he would have gone crazy, and maybe he would have abandoned the plan. Right. And gone wild again. So maybe that was part of them. Yes. Trying to keep a leash on the Rottweiler in a way. Right. I don't know, but I could definitely understand that. And I think it was a good thing for us to see a more tactical and a more reserved Johnny. I think it's smart, and that will help him throughout his career more. But the reason we all signed up to watch this fight is because you kind of wanted to see, Maheta.
You want to see backflips, didn't you?
Right.
You want to see backflips.
Yeah, and like crazy energy. I also did think that, and I know that sort of octagon control is down there in the list of requirements of who's winning the round. But I did also think too that while they did both sniff each other out a lot, I did think a lot of the time it seemed like Thiago was the one who at least took the chance and went first more often. So and it seemed like he was dictating where things are playing out. So in my mind, I also was giving cage control to Santos.
Yeah, I think if you just go by tit for tat, then it's a much closer fight in people's eyes. But yeah, I totally thought that Santos won at the end of it, but you're always going to get these weird decisions. So it was a really close fight. I felt like it was really close, and going into the fifth, I was pretty sure it was 2-2, but I could also argue for three to Santos and one for Johnny Walker. And when you have a tense fight like that, a lot of times you get this, and it's almost like every time it happens, we're surprised. But a lot of times you get these two knockout artists. They've just been killing everyone. They build it up. They make this huge thing of it, huge event of it. They're like, this is going to be a bloodbath. And then they're both super cautious. I mean, both super cautious because neither of them want the bloodbath to be them. They want to be the one giving the bloodbath. So you get this a lot. You get it a lot when you have two amazing strikers. They end up wrestling the whole fight. Two amazing grapplers end up having a boxing match, a really bad boxing match. And it a lot of times these things happen. So I do still think that nothing definitive happened that would make me go, oh, no way that you couldn't argue for the other guy. But I feel like Santos landed enough in the last round to put him ahead on scorecards for sure.
And yes, and to the Johnny Walker fans out there, I'm not trying to harsh on him because some of the numbers actually did have him ahead. And that's like you said, if you looked at it tit for tat, it was really incredibly close. When you look at the significant strike numbers, they were incredibly close. Because yes, maybe Thiago was the one who went first, but Johnny always came back at him too. And so there was a couple of rounds where Johnny's numbers statistically were higher, even though it didn't seem like he did as much work in the round. So that's also why I was just confused by things, because some of the numbers I was like, but that doesn't look like what's happening.
He was doing those phantom punches, like.
So going into this one, Thiago was number 5 and Johnny was number 10.
Okay.
So when he came to the desk after, Thiago was talking about, it's funny because everybody's now harshing on Alexander Rakic. Anthony ragged on him after he won, and he's like, I want that rematch. And, they might be fighting around Christmas time in that rematch because, Anthony had his beef with him. But then Thiago got out there and was saying that Rakic was boring and that, he gave him a boring fight. And so he's mad at Rakic, who's, ranked higher than him. And Giedi Prochazka is ranked up there too. And Giedi is going to be on standby for Glover versus Jan, which is happening later this month. But I'm curious what you think could be next for Thiago, because, he was basically saying, he could fight Prochazka if that sort of standby thing doesn't happen, or Rakic or whatever, he would take that one back. Because, now Thiago, that he broke a skid because he had gone to 5 rounds with John Jones, split decision loss to John Jones. A lot of people thought he won, but that's when Thiago's knees got trashed. So he had to completely rebuild one and almost completely rebuild the other one. And so then he had those 2 fights after against Glover and then also against Rakic, and he lost those. And so he's come back now after 3 fight skid, rebuilding those knees. But I'm curious what you would want to do with him next, because I think him versus Prochazka could be cool.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I like him against a new name, some new blood. And even though Jerry kind of jumped up in the rankings, he's still kind of a new face to everyone. So I'd like to see him match up against him for sure, especially if that standby fight doesn't happen. I think it's only fair. He kind of was able to skip Santos. A lot of people were able to skip Santos because he was out and injured for so long after fighting John Jones. So you have a lot of fights that happened that probably wouldn't have. Like maybe you wouldn't have seen Blackowitz fight homie
Israel?
Reyes
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, Dom,
if
right, yeah.
yeah, if Santos wasn't injured for so long, you know, just because like the weight class kept improving and people kept like, you know, fighting on while he was out for a couple of years. So I think it's fair, definitely fair for him to get Jerry, anyone ranked above him really who was able to jump up there. And if he's ranked number 5, it's really only like 2 people.
Yeah.
So yeah. give
Well, and
him
it's tough too
give him
because
that
I
or the
mean, I know
rematch.
the rematch was, and the thing is with the Glover fight, if you look at that fight again, the first one, like Thiago almost won. You know, like
Oh yeah.
he almost won that fight at first, and then he did it. So it's not like he had 2 crap performances.
In
You know,
Glover style though. Like that's kind
yeah,
of his thing.
because Glover does Glover.
He
That's the
rope a
thing.
dubs you. He's like, oh, you got me.
Got you.
Oh no. Oh
I got you. Or that's like Ryan
Just
Bader.
kidding.
Like I always joke about that one. Bader's like, I'm winning, I'm knocked out.
Oh no.
Yeah, like
Peter.
Glover's legit. Man, that's gonna be a good fight
Yeah.
with him and Jan Blachowicz. But yeah, so hopefully for Johnny Walker, he did come out and say, learning experience. I got to have, 15 minutes or 25 minutes rather in there with one of the best in the world, which is 100% true. So I do think this is great for Johnny. There's so much upside to him. He's still really young. It's funny too, because you get biased, or not even biased isn't the word, but you get like, I don't know, sometimes you see people and you're like, he sucks now. Or people get mad at Johnny because he came and went 3 straight, with 3 knockouts, and then he stumbled a little. It's like the guy's still learning. And
Mm-hmm.
people kind of write people off, and then you look and you're like, oh, they're 29. Like, you know what I
Oh
mean? Or whatever. It's like,
wow.
I
Yeah,
can't
so
remember if
much
Johnny
time.
is 29, but he's still really young. Still has a
Yeah.
lot of time. So I do think, yeah, it's great experience for him to get in there and go 5 rounds with Thiago Santos and learn from that. And yeah, I think it's just a question of fine tuning now for him with his team to find
Mm-hmm.
the right balance of crazy and strategic for Johnny. Because then I think, yeah, he'll be great.
Yeah, for Johnny, I don't mind him fighting some up and comers, you know. I don't
Yeah.
mind him fighting someone who might have impressed on like Contender Series, or
Mhm.
who just like got back into the mix and got a good knockout or something, and fighting one of those guys who are trying to prove themselves, because then he has something to work towards. He has like he has someone that he can style on, but still has to be careful not to let his guard down, not to do these things that have gotten him in trouble against the higher level of competition that he's faced. So I do like Johnny Walker just taking a step back and fighting lower level competition, or maybe just like not so highly touted competition, because then he gets to figure out his style more. The fact that he bounces around is like, I admire it, but it also worries me, because you never get someone who is just going to say, okay, let's look at our entire journey together and let's see what's working best for you. You know, like
Yeah.
his
Right.
coaches now have no idea what exactly was done in his previous fight camps that were successful. So yes, Johnny Walker knows what was done. He seems like kind of a free spirit in there. He seems like he like his corner is really there for suggestions, not so much for like definitive answers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the whole preparation is in their hands. So it would be good for him, I think, to stick around for a place for at least a couple years to really define what it is that makes him a fighter, what gets him going, what strategies work best for him and his style, what stuff he likes to do, like
Yeah.
just so they can figure out that relationship. Again, we're talking about relationships between coaches and fighters, figuring out what makes them tick, and being able to work that corner like a well-oiled machine. Like, I'm sure when you're in NASCAR, you're not grabbing some random person to change your tires and do all that stuff they
Right.
do in the corner when they come in for the pit stop. Like, you have a pit crew that you trust, and that's what a corner is basically in MMA. That's your pit crew. They come in, they give you ice, they give you water, and they tell you what you need to do next round in order to get the win. So if you have someone that you can stick around with for a while, I think that's always the best.
Yeah, it's like I said, a couple camps for him there, and he made it sound like he is going to stay there for a while. To your point, though, yeah, I think Johnny meant to travel a little bit, and he couldn't get back. That was the whole thing, is he couldn't get back to
Oh,
TriStar,
okay.
and so but when COVID happened, which is why he had to stay in Ireland, before, and then I guess he realized he liked it, and he's working well
Mm.
with Kavanaugh. He's got a girl over there and everything. So yeah, Johnny, all the stuff
Oh,
leading, up to this was that he was reaching new levels of maturity, and that he was starting to understand a lot of those things like that you're talking about. So I think the future
cool.
is still very bright for him, and it's nice to see Tiago back on track, back on the winning track. And he and Yana are having their baby. He said the baby's due in April, so that'll be really good for them. And
Nice.
yeah, happy for Tiago. He's just a good dude,
Yeah.
just a
What's
good
the
dude.
what's the over under that Johnny Walker's new girl ends up in his corner in the next couple of fights, huh?
Oh,
Huh?
that's funny. Well, I want to get your take on the co-main event, Ange. This was controversial. It was Kevin Holland versus Kyle Dacus. And basically what happened, we ended up getting a no contest. There was
Yes.
one round, there was a really bad clash of heads. Kevin fell to the ground, looked like he had kind of gotten knocked out, and that he then wailed on his head on the canvas as well, which may have woken him back up. The fight continues. They keep going. Kyle ends up getting a submission. Then they rethink it, because right in the middle of after it happened, Mazzagatti already looked over at them and did the signal like, hey, I'm going to need replay. So he knew in the moment that they were going to need instant replay. When they determined it was a clash of heads, they had their meeting outside, and they determined that it was a no contest, because basically it shouldn't have continued. It's just that Kevin was too effing tough for his own good to keep that fight going, but it truly should have been stopped after that headbutt. So therefore they will run it back, and both guys were cool with it. I'm curious what your take is on how it played out and how it ended up being a no contest.
I'm just so happy that happened. It if anything, that is hope for future rare things that happen and fair things to evolve from it, because that was really the only fair answer. It sucks for his opponent, like getting that sub, feeling the win, feeling the energy of getting a win bonus, and then having it taken away. But part of him had to know that he dropped because of the head clash. And obviously you're not going to stop. Like, I wouldn't stop. I'm not judging him for not trying to kill Kevin Holland after dropping him with his head. But, when it comes to like everything being fair, I'm so happy that they called it. I'm happy that they took their time with it. They didn't feel pressure to keep the show going and come up with a decision, the easiest decision right away, because when you have to go back and get the commissions to look at stuff and get the athletic commissions involved in overturning a fight, is such a long, arduous process. And even though everyone in the public knows that you're right, everyone agrees with you 100%, media, fans, whatever, the bosses of the UFC, it's still going to be a headache to get anything overturned. And I feel like I've only seen one fight actually get overturned to a no contest when something weird happened. It was in Invicta, and the referee interrupted. Who was it? It was our girl, Tanya Evinger. Tanya Evinger was was breaking an armbar, and she steps on her face. I think it was Yana.
I remember that.
Yeah. Speak at the devil. Yeah, I think it was Yana, and she stepped on her face to get out of the armbar, and the referee interrupted because she thought she was stomping her, but she was really just using her foot to pry her arm out, and it was a legal move. And Tanya was able to actually get it overturned to a no contest because the referee interference caused her to get armbarred. But I've never seen anything get overturned before that or after that. So I was so happy that they just came out and did the right decision, because everyone was in agreement online that this is the right decision. Commentators were saying this is the right decision. Hopefully that's what comes out of it. And then it did. So I was really happy about that.
Yeah, I have seen some people disagree actually with the decision and say that it wasn't right. But yeah, I think because if it was, well, actually, I believe
you're like,
I believe our good friend Kenny, who I love. I just, I just don't necessarily agree with him. I think he tweeted out that he actually thought that was kind of BS to take the win away from Kyle, because I think his argument was, well, the fact that Kevin was good enough to continue meant that he was good enough to continue, and so fair is fair. But I do actually think that no, it's only because Kevin is a wild man and he's crazy, and he did have his back against the wall. Going in there with 2 losses after winning 5 fights in 2020. To lose your first 2 in 2021, to go through wrestling camp, to do all this stuff, Hendricks down with Johnny Hendricks, to go train with DC, back against the wall. There was no way Kevin was going to stop. And I just think that because of the quality of a fighter that he is, he just was going to keep going. Now, a lot of other people wouldn't have woken up after their head went flying down on the canvas like that. Like, a lot of people just would have been out, and we know I hate to say it, but we know for sure if it had been you in there against another girl, the refs would have waved that shit off like immediately as soon as
no.
Yeah,
Oh no, the girls are getting hurt.
The pretty girls are getting hurt.
Oh no. But only if I have my long hair.
Because that Egger stoppage was BS. Because I'm happy for Egger, but I was like, that was BS because it wasn't over. But okay. Pretty girl, so let's stop. But I just think that it's only because of the quality of person that Kevin was. A lot of other fighters would have never been able to continue after that headbutt.
Mm-hmm. And to have the wherewithal to complain too is kind of tough if you legit got dropped like that. Like, he literally ate it and then came forward on all fours, and that's how you know someone's like really, really out. He was about to do something and then just stops midair and falls to the ground. So the ability, because of Kenny Florian's argument that he kept fighting through it, so he was showing that he was good. You can be fighting through confusion, when you get dropped like that. A lot of times you're just fighting to, who's coming over?
I don't know who is at my door.
Coming over, Karen?
I don't know. Should I answer?
Oh my goodness. Yes.
I'll be right back, folks.
Oh man.
Wait a minute. What is happening here?
What happened over there? Hi. Karen getting visitors.
Can you come back in a little bit? Like maybe a half hour? Thank you. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Who is Nick?
Nick is the handyman, and this is a completely legit. It's like my afternoon delight. No, he's legitimately the handyman who
here to unclog your pipes. Here to tackle your wall thing. I don't know. What do you tackle? Tackle your
bad
bathtub.
Like clean your drains. I'm here to he's actually just a legit fix-it guy who was here to fix something.
But
yes, but he will come back. He said in a half hour. So I wanted to look up Kenny's. That is so funny though. You never know what's going to happen. See, what had happened was.
What had happened was Karen misscheduled her booty call. He thought she said 1 p.m. She said 1 a.m.
You are so funny. That is so funny. And I'm only blushing because now I'm just like embarrassed on all of us, but it is not a booty call. No, I want to, although I do one. Was that out loud? Hey, I wanted to read Kenny's, So Kenny says, because he was saying his belief is you either stop the fight at the point of the illegal shot or you let them fight. Since the ref let them fight, you can't go back in time and then take away the submission. And I know we've talked about this before. This is a really weird thing because I feel like we have a deja vu going on before. And so he's saying, he's saying that, it's not the best case scenario because you should have just stopped it at the time of, and so now to go back in time and then to undo it and to say, well, he shouldn't have kept going. And so he did. So I understand Kenny's point. I do understand it. But I just think in this case, it's only because it was Kevin Holland and he has the ability to keep going.
That's one of those devil advocate points. Like, you always have the kid in government debate class or whatever. And they're like, I think children should be arrested for stealing candy. You know, like it's like
Right.
nobody thinks that. Why are you saying that? That's one of those
Right.
devil's advocate points to make. But
Maybe.
I get what he's saying, but at the same time, I like to live in a world where I'm fighting in the sport and something like that can happen that's so egregious that you can see
Yeah.
clearly with a replay and you can see that that changed the entire momentum of the fight. Like it was even up until that point, and it was obvious that he was still cloudy once he turtled up and was getting hit, you know, with those punches from underneath the armpit. Like those are just as bad as when you first get rocked, because it's just like resetting your brain. Your brain is trying to reset. Like I've never been knocked out bad before, but the first time my husband got knocked out, he said it felt like he did a like his brain did a hard reset, like on a computer, and then everything just started loading back in, you know, like eventually he remembered like what he was doing there, and you know where he was and who I was, and it's just such a scary thing to think
Yeah.
about the way that the human brain processes all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think from the ref's angle, because I remember we watched it a few times, the ref's angle was just slightly off, so you couldn't tell if it was the uppercut or the head coming up, because he kind of went like here. You couldn't tell if it was the uppercut or the head coming up that made Kevin's head fly back in that way. So you know, it sucks for Dacus because he got an awesome submission, but that wouldn't have happened if he didn't get rocked that bad. I mean, it wouldn't have happened in that moment. Maybe later, maybe after a punch, or maybe after he just grinded him out, but that never got to play out. So I like the fact that we're doing no contest, and then there's the chance of a rematch where they can, you know, put the whole thing to rest and actually say what would have happened if they were able to fight on.
Agreed. And they both took it like real champs. And you know,
and nobody wants to win that way either.
No,
you know, like it's unless you're a total dick. But nobody.
And he's not. Kyle's not. That's the whole thing. No. Like he and his brother are cool. And he was just talking about that, you know, because his brother Chris Dacus is the heavyweight who was victorious last week over Abdurakhimov, and that he's going to have a main event against Derek Lewis. So that was one thing that Chris and Kyle, they were talking about how quickly could they run it back. And then Kyle was saying, well, I'm not really sure, because now, you know, my brother's about to go into the biggest fight of his life. And so maybe we want to focus on him right now. And I'm not sure. Then also, you know, the concern with Kevin, not only was it, you know, really bad, yeah, he's probably hugely concussed. I was also then thinking like he could have whiplash, because his neck, if you really look at the way he fell, it was bad. So, and then to get choked out on top of it, like, you know what I mean? So I was like, oh, that dude probably needs a break. But yeah, I agree with you.
Save him from himself.
Totally. I'm glad it all worked out the way that the two of us believe it should. Okay, so question for you. I need to ask you about Aspen Ladd and Macy Chiasson. This fight did not happen. It's been rescheduled a number of times. I'd actually spoken to Aspen this summer. She was supposed to fight Macy. Macy couldn't fight because she had a stress fracture in her foot, which when it showed up on fight week, she said it was unbearable, and so they had to push it back. So they pushed it back a couple weeks, or a couple months rather. And now we come to the fight week. Long story short, you guys have all seen the footage, but Aspen didn't make weight. It's happened before. She didn't make weight. There was a whole thing. She was on the scale for about 10 and a half minutes. She went with clothes. People were thinking she was gaming the system. At one point, she weighed in 10 pounds heavier, then lighter. It was a lot of stuff. But then the fight didn't happen because Macy and her team decided not to take the fight. And I'm curious your take.
So I want to know when she weighed in 10 pounds heavier and when she weighed in a pound over.
I believe,
you know, the time stamps,
right? From what I understood, the lowest she ever weighed in was 137, is what I thought.
Yeah.
But then I had heard that there was a 10-pound swing between weighing in with clothes and weighing in without, and she weighed in with clothes at 141 or something. I wasn't there present at the moment, so I never heard them call out 131, but for that 10-pound swing. So I don't really know. I thought the lowest she came was 137, but I'm not 100%.
I think she pulled a DC. I think she pulled a DC. I mean, we heard it. I think that's where the whole back and forth between Misha Tate and Aspen Ladd happened. I saw somebody posted it before Instagram went down. Uh, that Aspen Ladd and Misha Tate were going back and forth, and Misha Tate said something like, "We saw you cheat. We all saw you cheat. We tried to game it." I'm guessing she did the pinch, where she pinches the towel. And I don't know if you guys have ever tried that on your own scale at home, but literally, if you just like, you can get on your home scale and put just a tiny bit of pressure on the counter, on tabletop or whatever, and relieve like 5 pounds. You're not going to see that 5 pounds on the scale reading. So that's what Misha was accusing her of doing. And she said everyone saw it. So I'm assuming they saw the pinch on the other side, on the other side of the sheet, like this big, like seam. And she didn't pinch hard enough because she was still a pound over. Like that's what I understood from the story. But then she was also saying that it was taking her a really long time to weigh in because she didn't want to bleed everywhere.
Yeah. She said she had her period. She got her period earlier in the week. And so that made the weight cut much harder, which we do know is true.
Yeah, that happens. That happens.
And so she had said that because yes, they had brought out the screen. And then if people saw, they'd eventually also brought out a towel. And to your point, what you're saying there is that she had said she was also freaking out because people were if they saw her on the scale, that she was nervous and embarrassed at the idea of potentially bleeding on the scale and in front of media and everything like that. So that is why she's saying that she was, it was hard for her to settle there because she was upset about that potentially happening.
I don't buy it.
Safe saw it. No, Safe didn't buy it either. I saw him afterwards. He's Macy's coach. He's the head of Fortis. And, he didn't believe what Aspen was saying. And that is part of the reason why I assume all of it was reason why they deferred from taking the fight. Mm-hmm. Safe didn't like what he saw. He didn't think they were playing fair and didn't like it.
I don't like it. And I really don't like when women use their period as an excuse. I know it is an added obstacle for weight cutting, but at the same time, it's something that you have to plan around. If you know your cycle, then you can diet accordingly. You can take certain supplements that the UFC provides supplements for menstruation, for cramps, for bloating. There's stuff that you can take that's not going to get you flagged by USADA that will help you get through the fact that you have your period and you're cutting weight at the same time. And if it was the first weigh-in, which was 10 pounds over, that it shouldn't make that huge of a difference. Like I can see 2 or 3 at the most, but not 10 pounds. 10 pounds is just you not being disciplined or you not being in the right weight class. And I think a lot of times it's hard for people to accept that they have to move up in weight. You feel like you're going to be at a disadvantage. You feel that you've made the weight before, so you should still be able to make the weight. It just didn't happen this time. But when it becomes like a second, third, fourth offense, then you have to give it a rest. You have to move up. I mean, Aspen Ladd's been missing weight since she was in Invicta. So this is something that she's gotten away with for a long time. We've seen the same thing with Mackenzie Dern in the past before she had her kid. Now she's in control of it. But for a long time, because she's gotten away with it, it doesn't seem like a big deal. Like you get a slap on the wrist, you're going to do it again. You reap the benefits of coming in overweight, coming in bigger than your opponent, being able to score a knockout or sit on them or anything that a big girl could do easier against someone who's smaller than them, someone who didn't cut the weight. There's definitely an advantage when it comes to size, and you can't always negate that. I remember a few years ago, someone was doing a study about the likeliness of someone missing weight and winning. and it was very high. It was
Very
like
high.
80% of the fighters
Hmm.
who missed weight and still fought ended up winning that
Yeah.
fight. So it definitely makes a difference. Statistically, it makes a difference. And was it Leslie Smith who refused to fight Aspen Ladd?
And it might have been. It
I
might have
think
been.
that was Leslie Smith. She was one of the first ones to refuse to fight
Hmm.
Aspen Ladd, but we know she was talking about the thing we're not supposed to talk about. So that's why
Yeah.
that's why they were like, all right, well, here's your money, get out. But
Yeah.
this is the thing that she's done over and over again in the past, and obviously she's not getting punished for it. She's not feeling like it's something that she needs to get under control, because she would have done it by now or moved up a weight class. And I think if anything, this is the wake up call. Like, dude, she looked sucked out on there. She didn't look happy. Maybe it's time to move up to 145. There's less competition up there, like maybe that's a move to make. Maybe that's a healthier decision to make, because in the end, you have to worry about your body. You have to worry about what you're doing to your kidneys, to your organs, especially as a woman, and especially being 90% water, taking all that water out of yourself and still not being able to compete. So it's almost like you did it for nothing.
Well, I would say I understand why she wants to still be at 35, because she's currently ranked number 3. And, if you're that
Mm-hmm.
close to a title shot, you don't want to move. And also the fact that 45 right now, again, seems like it doesn't kind of really exist, right? I mean, it doesn't. We know Amanda's
Mm-hmm.
obviously the champion there, but a lot of the women, I mean, Macy was originally a 45er. She won the Ultimate Fighter at 45, went down at 35. So there's really not that many women left at 45. Phenom, there's a couple, even Megan Anderson's not really there now, right? So there's, they're really not a lot there. So I understand why she
Mm-hmm.
needs to try to get down to 35. It's unfortunate, and yeah, it seems to me like I it's hard. I understand, and I know as a woman, obviously, it is way harder to do things as a woman and all these things that come in. But like you said, it's coming. You got to plan for it, and I it's hard because I'm so much like I get it. It sucks making weight, but like it's literally your job. So you've got two things to do: show up on that day and show up at this weight. And so I
Mm-hmm.
really overall am not overly sympathetic to people who miss weight. Like I am and I'm not, right? I get it. And I know life comes in and these things happen and it sucks. But you knew the date on the calendar a long time ago and you
Mm-hmm.
said you were going to show up at this weight. So you better freaking show up like that. I
Yeah.
actually kind of don't excuse it really.
I'm very unsympathetic. And I think it's
Yeah.
because I feel like I fought a lot of women who are way bigger than me.
Yeah.
And, if I feel like they earned that right because they made the weight.
Yeah.
They went through hell to get down to 115 and rehydrate to God knows what. And hey, you did that. You earned that. I'm not the one to do all that to myself, like
Yeah.
I've I tried to make 105 for a little bit, and eventually I was like, you know what, this is taken away from my quality of life, just
Yeah.
dieting all the time and trying to be at like 1% body fat at the
Mm-hmm.
drop of a hat so I can actually book a fight and fight it. It's easier to fight at a more natural weight class. And I think the more people realize that, the less injuries you get during fight week, the less weird occurrences of people passing out, having crazy shit like heart murmurs and stuff. I think if you just fight at a more natural weight class and you don't put your body through so much stress, because I still stress my body out. I still look sunken out. I still look like I was starved for a few days when I weigh in, but it's way less than what I'd have to do if I wanted to make 105. And a lot of these girls are doing that. They're cutting 30 pounds in 3 weeks, and it's way too much stress on your body, especially that final water cut. That just kills it. And that's where everyone realizes, oh shit, I'm not going to make it, So I think if Aspen Ladd does care about the future of her health, you see a lot of people getting these horrible health issues after having a career in wrestling or
Yeah.
any type of sport where you have to cut weight really crazily. If she cares about her health, she's gonna move up, or at least get a better dietitian, get someone who can really crack down and figure out what's going on there, because she does have fluff to get rid of, but you can see in her cheeks that she was starved, and whatever she's doing isn't the safest way to do it.
No, she's got, she's yoked. She's got big, broad shoulders and stuff. So yeah, I think that she could, obviously 45 is a weight. She could probably be very successful there if she fought there at that weight. But like you said, there's really not much there. And yes, you're right. You have to think about your future life. If you ever want children, you guys could be doing a lot of damage to your bodies. But the other thing too is, if I'm the matchmakers at the UFC, and even though she's already number 3, and let's say she wins or whatever, like, you're going to tell me I'm going to trust that you're going to make weight for a title fight too. That's the part that's tough for her moving forward, is how is she going to rebuild the trust in making weight she's going to have to do it consistently, because we can't promote a title fight that we don't get because you didn't make weight. And I think if there's anything that should maybe try to solidify you in trying to get all those pieces in place, it's the idea that you could get a title fight, but what if they're not going to give it to you because you can't make weight? That would suck.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. They're investing a lot of money in promoting that thing. They're not going to do it just for you to pull out or not make it to the scale.
Exactly. Well, speaking of pulling out, Angie, it's probably time for us to wrap up the show.
I thought you were going to talk about your visitor again.
You are so bad. That is so bad. That's terrible. That is not what is happening. It's just we're at like the 55-minute mark. Yeah.
Oh, Karen.
You're hilarious. Anyway, hey, listen, folks, if you guys didn't see it, Angie and Uriah Hall were guests on Tuesday Night Festivities last week with me and Hanato. And that was so fun. Much fun. I'm so glad that you came on and did that with us. That was really cool.
That was awesome. I was happy to be there.
Awesome. And okay, so last thing I'm going to say before I tell you what I thought, somebody said, I made a comment on something on Dana's post or something on Instagram. Somebody commented, they go, KB, like, why are you always interviewing Angela Hill every week? And I'm like, because she's my podcast partner and it's our podcast. Like, somebody thinks I'm literally just interviewing you every week.
They're obviously just watching the intro. They're like, her again, and scrolling past. Like, where's the other interviews?
Because it's my podcast that we do. I was like, why is John Anik interviewing Kenny Florian?
I don't get it. It's like when I get those tweets, like, why do I keep seeing your tweets? Like, my tweets are here because you follow me. What's wrong with you? Why don't you understand how social media works?
Sure.
That's awesome.
At any rate, yes, over on Instagram, I'm at KB Heat. You can find me there. And then, like I said, on Tuesday nights, 8 p.m., we have Tuesday Night Festivities. This week, Rose and Pat are coming on with us. So that's going to be really fun. Yeah, so Tuesday night. But yeah, on Twitter, Karen Bryant, Karyn. Bryant as in Kobe, no relation, but may he rest in peace. That's also how you can find me on YouTube. Angie, where can they find you?
At Angie Overkill on Instagram, Twitter, and at Overkill Hill on TikTok.
That's what's up. And we'll see you guys at the next metal concert. Right?
Yeah.
Thanks for watching, guys. This is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio.
Yes.
See you next time.